Hi everyone, After Effects 2021 has just this minute been released. My name is Daniel Walter Scott. I am a designer and Adobe certified instructor for After Effects. And today we're going to cover all the new features. Now, what you might have noticed about Adobe and their new kind of way of releasing products, when we go from 2020 to 2021, there used to be, like, all the new features came out at Adobe Max like today. But what they've been doing, and they've kind of changed their cadence so that the features have either been coming out staggered throughout the year, okay, or they've been releasing them through the new public beta program for After Effects. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. If you are somebody who keeps up to date with everything After Effects, okay, and you just want the 2021 features, check out the time code below. Anything that has like a brackets and has 2021 in it is that just came out this minute. Everything else is something that's either come out in the last couple of months, okay, or something that has been in the beta program, so you might have heard on the grapevine about some of this stuff. But this is kind of like a review wrap up for all of us lazy people who don't read all the forums and watch all the Adobe sneaks and stuff. So we're gonna wrap all those up today as well. All right, that is it. There's some really exciting stuff though. Let's get into it. All right, the very first feature that I want to show you is Roto Brush 2 and this distracting text. Roto brushing, if you don't know, it's a way of kind of masking things out so that we can get wiggly text. It's super distracting, bouncing around in between me and the background. Roto Brushing 1 has been around for a while now, and it is relatively, it was okay. Roto Brush 2 is pretty amazing. It's using machine learning, which Adobe calls Adobe Sensei. Okay, and it just stops from that kind of frame by frame, either dragging your pen tool anchor points around or cursing Roto Brush 1. It's pretty amazing. It's just come out of beta, so everyone should have it now. Yeah, let's jump in and I'll show you how it does. And we'll do wiggly text because it looks cool. All right, Roto Brush 2, we are going to go to new composition from footage. I got a new project open. Okay, if you want to play around with the exact same example, there'll be a link for this file below this video. Okay, download that and you can import it. And we've turned it into a comp. Here it is on the layer. And to use Roto Brush, it is this option here. Okay, Roto Brush has been around for a little while. Roto Brush 2 is what we're using. So it kind of works the same way. It's just way better. If you've never used Roto Brush before, double click on the layer you want to mask out. Okay, you'll notice you go from being in the comp where we just were inside the layer. That's important if you're doing roto brushing. You get lost otherwise. And all we need to do is click, hold, and draw a really bad version of me. Okay, so just like the outline. Go on the inside. You don't even have to get close to the edge. Just somehow magically goes, do you mean this person? It got close. It's moved a chunk here, so you've got to be a little bit better. All right, can you see the purple magenta line? But look at that, just grab the edges. It's perfect. Okay, I've picked an example that is not absolutely perfect because I want to show you real world. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, Command plus space bar for the hand tool. You can see my ear here. And if I want to add the ear, what I got to do is just, I'm not holding anything down, just paint over the ear and say, actually get this for me. And it depends on how much detail you want, how much time you want to spend painting things in, but these bits are probably useful. My glasses, people need ears. You can remove bits. Let's say it's got a bit that you don't want. Hold on the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and you can start painting around. But we're going to keep this one quick, so I'm going to zoom out. Okay, actually, let's go to Fit. And what I want to do next is just make sure my playhead's right at the beginning here, and I'm just going to click Freeze. I'm not even going to do a full roto brush. I'm just going to see how it works. I'm going to click Freeze, kick back, relax, and you can join me in a little bit, we'll speed it up. Now this is going to be pretty good for, it's not a high quality video, okay? It was shot in HD at the lowest quality setting I've got on my camera and then compressed to be used in this exercise file. But you'll notice that, see all these little purple lines, they're following pretty good. If you've used Roto Brush 1, you'll notice that about this stage, it starts creeping into the background and then grabbing the window and then grabbing everything and losing half your head. Okay, but look at it. I did nothing. We painted in the air and it's doing a pretty amazing job. So I'll speed it up and I will see you in a second. All right, it's done. So mask is made. You just gotta come out of your layer into your composition and there's my mask. Against black, there's some bits we need to touch up. We can either fix it with reduced shadow, that's a good start, and feathering just a little bit. Oh, it's coming together. And we'll shift the edge in just a little bit. You can shift it negatively or positively. Okay, I want to kind of shift it in a little bit. Nice. But look at the little bob on the top of my head. The trouble is that bob is there. It's like a tiny little bit of hair left. So it's accurate, just it doesn't look very good. So what we'll do is we'll add some text behind it, and we'll do that thing like you see at the beginning. So I'm going to add some text. This is going to be capital secret. Okay, move tool, put it in there. Turn caps lock off, otherwise nothing appears. Down here in your layers, put it behind. But yeah, that's Roto Brush 2. Now I'm just going to add foreground and background color to cut me out. So let's do it just because I'm going to have one in front, okay, and I'm going to fill the background with the rest of the background. So I'm going to copy and paste this layer. So I've got two of them. One of them can go behind. The one behind, with it selected, my effects control, I'm going to turn the Roto Brush off to kind of fill the background out. And look at this.
Hey everyone, I've got some exciting news.
If you want to mute that guy, he's over here, going on about stuff. But look at that. So let's render this out real quick. All right, it's enough. My computer is stressed out. It's reasonably good. It's just recording video whilst doing it. Doesn't like it. Look at that. It's perfectly in the background. Obviously, you can spend a lot more time kind of doing it frame by frame to get it going a little bit better, kind of more traditional Roto Brush techniques. But again, we could be spending the whole half an hour learning how to Roto Brush. Other things you can do with Roto Brush 2 is you can send it from standard, okay, to high quality, which you probably should if you've got the time. And here, version 2, you can set it back to version 1 if that's what you want to do. Also, decontaminate colors is great when you've got the opposite. So I'm contaminating the background with my big orange hoodie. Okay, but if you had a big orange background and a white hoodie, it would be contaminating me. So you can turn this on and it will kind of stretch the edges, and you can play around with decontaminating the edges and kind of moving it in and out to try and get that color cast to stop wrapping around. All right, one thing before we go, let's look at effects. Let's add a wiggle. Wiggle-rama, because that's cool. And we'll add, let's crank up the positioning to like, I don't know, 500-ish. And let's give it a little bit of nervousness. Now back to the beginning and preview. Totally worth it. All right, that is Roto Brushing 2. And Wiggle-rama is not new, but hilarious. If you've never done Roto Brushing before, go check out my After Effects course. If you know how Roto Brushing works and you stop using it because it wasn't very good, give it a go now. You'll find it gets a lot closer and a lot quicker using the pen tool and moving anchor points around. You know what I mean. And before we move on, this is where I set your homework. And you're like, homework? I didn't sign up for any homework. You don't have to do it, but if you do and you want to practice, because that's how you remember things, I want you to do a couple of things. The prerequisites is you need another like headshot, like my version, okay? But find either a version of yourself, find something from a stock library site like Adobe Stock or Shutterstock or whatever stock you use, or Pixels, okay? There's lots of free stuff on their video. Okay, so take that. Do your masking with Roto Brush 2, and then the word that goes behind them, okay, I want you to do something with it. Might slide in, you might Wiggle-rama it, you might find some of the other effects, but I want the word to be something kind of positive. So, I don't know, beautiful, happy, joy, wonder, something like that behind it, okay? And I want you to share it with me, okay? So upload it to Vimeo or YouTube and share it on Twitter, Instagram, or in the Facebook group. And I'd love to see what you do and how you practice with Roto Brush 2. If you've never done it before, it's a good place to practice. If you used Roto Brush 1 before, I would like to hear your experiences of how good Roto Brush 2 is in comparison, or bad, depending on what you're working with. All right, so let's move on to the next new feature. All right, and this is the next feature. The features are called Taper and Waves, and it's things you can do to the stroke. It's this blue thing spinning around my body here. Basically, it means that we can now, without using kind of fancy plugins and stuff, we can play around with taper on strokes, and you can see thick at one end, skinny at the other. That's taper, and wave, as you imagine, it's the wavy stuff. So non-wavy, wavy, and put it all together, and it looks like this. The actual animation is called trim paths, which we'll do just because you really need those to really get the good feeling of this new feature. Let me jump in now and let's show you how to make it. All right, tapered wave strokes. What we need to do is first create a stroke. So what I'm going to do is going to grab my pen tool. And hey, that is one of the new features for 2021. Is the can you see the pen tool has that little white square with a circle in it? That is, it is suggesting that we are about to make a mask. That's not what I want. Okay, I want to make an actual shape. So let's have nothing selected down the layers panel, just clicked off. Can you see that little symbol changed to a star? That's the kind of like After Effects symbol for I am a shape layer. Okay, so I don't want to mask stuff, I want to draw a shape. And I'm going to have no fill by clicking in here, click on the word fill, click none. Okay, pick a stroke color, anything you like. And the width you can change later on, but it's like however big you want it now is going to be the maximum width the stroke can be. Okay, so I'm going to start drawing, actually undo that. I'm going to make sure I'm way back at the beginning. Okay, and I'm going to draw something that kind of goes down there and goes along here. See the stroke there, mine's in like 91. Okay, that's as wide as it's going to be. It's going to taper at the end, like you saw at the beginning there, but I don't know, something like this. All right, so kind of in front and back. All right, and the taper is actually just straight up in my shape layer. So if I go to my shape layer and find the contents and I find my shape one and I find my stroke, okay, down here, these are new, taper and wave. So open up taper and it's like the width tool in Illustrator, which I love. Grab the start length and drag it up, and can you see up there? Hey, look at that. It's nice. You can animate that over time. Okay. So let's do that. Let's go full start length. You can do the end length as well, so get it kind of like skinny at both sides. Okay, I can see some cool animations happening in here. I'm going to have it at 0. Okay, 0 even. The other options it's got is the width. Let's look at the start width here. Okay, you can actually start it to be a certain size, okay, rather than all pointy at the end. What I find is quite nice is this easing. You can make it a little bit more blobby. Okay, can you see that? I'm just kind of, it's just where the, you know, is it uniform? Okay, in terms of the way it kind of goes from skinny to thick at the end there. Easing kind of gets it a bit more, I don't know, organic. That's what we're going to call it. Okay, so that's taper. Let's have a look at wave. Wave, crank up the amount. It'll depend on the size of your line as well before whether you get like really scrunchy ones or really tight ones, but crank up the amounts and then go and play around with the wave length. Okay, you can see, look at that. Okay, so you could do these through plugins and expressions and stuff, but now it's just a nice animatable feature within strokes. The taper one has been, I don't know, something that people have been wanting to do for a very long time. And now it's here, 2021, we're here. Obviously you can animate these, let's set this go wrong for a bit. Let's crank it up and let's have a look at the phasing. Look at it. It's great. Now, these tapering is nice, and wave, I guess, is not nice, but it's there. But it probably only really becomes something really cool until we use something called a trim path animator. So let's have a little look at that. So let's go up to, actually before we move on, can you see the end there? It's a little bit hard to see. It's got a really flat end, the unfortunately named butt cap. Okay, we don't want you butt cap, we want a nice round cap. Okay, so before we move on, let's go butt cap, let's go to round cap, and you can see a little bit more bulbous end. And let's close all this up. Under your shape layer, contents, add, let's find a trim paths. Okay, and this is kind of where this tapered thing becomes really nice. So I'm gonna close all that down again. Under trim paths, I'm gonna have a look at the start and end. Trim paths weirdly often you start with the end. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure my playhead's back at the beginning and drag this down, okay, to kind of get it back to 0. Okay, this is what we want to animate over time. So you might just want to go from 0, start the little stopwatch, okay, move along some time, and then get it to go all the way out to 100%. That might be what you're looking to do, okay? And you could animate that wave along so it keeps wiggling. But that's not exactly what I want. So I want it to do that, but maybe just after, decide on how long you want it to be by dragging your CTI, drag this little playhead along until you get it to be how long you want your blob to be. Okay, then you start messing around with the start. So I'm gonna grab the start, it's gonna start at 0, and then move along to just after this keyframe. Okay, so just after the end, kind of finishes, I'm going to drag this up and kind of get it down to that smaller size there. All right, let's have a little look. Bloop. Okay, so yeah, trim pass is what we want to do. What else do we want to do? We are totally off script in terms of new features, but I don't know, showing you them in isolation isn't kind of what I'm about. Let's actually get them working. What I want to do is, I just want it to disappear after this one. Shortcut, you might know it or not. Hold shift, it will snap to the keyframes. Okay, so I want to get to that keyframe, and actually I want to grab this layer and actually say, you my friend, I'm going to, holding shift again, it will snap to the playhead. Okay, I just want it to finish there so that the bubble disappears after that second, goes away. Let's add some easing just to make it look nice. And before we move on, I select them all, right click them, go to keyframe assistant, easy ease, they're looking nicer. And what you want to do is we're going to get it to go behind my head. Again, if you want to move on to like just the new features, you can skip along, check out the timelines below. But let's get it to go in front and behind my head here. And trick is to get all, before you start doing that, we need duplicates of it. So it's best to kind of get all your animation tweaked first before you duplicate it. Okay, so I want to add some motion blur. So turn it on for the actual composition, turn it on for the layer. You can see it gets a little bit blurry. We love a bit of motion blur. How fast do you want it to go? It's up to you and your timing. I'm kind of happy with that. If you want to adjust that afterwards, select all the keyframes. A nice shortcut is you hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and you can drag either of them, if they're all selected, and can you see it, I don't know, proportionately scales them up rather than just moving one of them. They all kind of stretch in a proportional manner. There we go, that's, I don't know, that's good enough. All right, so now we've got two of them. We need to do that behind and front thing again. And it's kind of what we did with the Roto Brush, okay, with the secret in the middle. I've got a shape layer above, okay, which is kind of what I want. Okay, I want it to be above here, but I do want it to be behind at the top there. So we need two of them. So I'm going to copy and paste it. So we've got one above my, let's turn the back off as well. So I've got one above and one below my cutout version of myself. So the one behind, we don't need to do anything else because it's running behind. Let's turn the eyeball on the top one off. It's doing exactly what we wanted to do. It's the one at the front only needs to appear here. So we need to make a mask. So click the top one, turn the eyeball on it. I'm going to turn the one behind it off. Let's give them a name. Okay, click on it, hit return on my keyboard. This one can be blob top. And this one here can be return blob bottom. Okay, so let's turn blob bottom off because he's all good. Blob top, blob top. All I need to do is get him to kind of where I want him to be. So here, I want him to be visible, but not when he's across my forehead. So what we need to do is put a little window in. So we'll use the rectangle tool. It's pretty easy. Make sure that top layer is selected and just draw your window. Ooh, actually, can you see the shortcut? Well, the little star next to me, what does that mean? Is it going to make a mask? No, it's going to make a shape. That's what the little star thing means. I am a shape layer. So you need to make sure, I don't know. I thought that seems like a really simple upgrade. And then I'm like, I've only been using this beta version for a couple of weeks now. Does everybody do it? I don't know. Masks when there should be shapes, shapes when there should be masks. So click on the masks and actually just make a little window on top of me. Actually over the edges here, undo. Okay, so I want to kind of just cover this whole bit. So he's only visible here and he can't be seen at the top. That's where this guy takes over. Okay, so there's this like lovely transition between the front one disappearing here and the back one filling it in. Let's turn the background layer on and ready, steady, go. Look at that. Let's get it to loop. Let's get the workspace down here, spacebar. Oh, look how cool it is. What is it? I don't know. I think it's just social media stuff. You can just do anything. I feel like TikTok and Instagram stories have allowed you to go, I don't know, as a designer, subtlety, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can just put stickers on everything and things can blob around. Let's do stuff. Anyway. All right, so that is the new taper and wave, but of course we've had to use trim pass to kind of make it, I don't know, make it exciting. And actually before we get on to the next feature, I just wanted to play this video and check in to see whether you're enjoying the video. If you are, like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Subscribe because I've got updates for all the other Adobe products. Photoshop 2021, InDesign, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, Adobe XD. Go check those out on my channel. Also playing in front of you is the stuff that I cover in my After Effects courses. So if you're thinking, actually, I want to upgrade my After Effects skills, check out the link in the description for those. Same place, I've got courses for most of the Adobe products: Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, After Effects, Premiere Pro, Adobe XD. Yeah, check those out. All right, let's get back to concentric shape repeater. Let's do it. And this is what a concentric shape repeater looks like. This is the stars, the riot of things going on here, but it's the stars expanding out with its lines. If you're thinking, hey, couldn't we do this with a regular repeater? You kind of could, but we had scale problems, and yes, there's always a plugin, but now you can do it built into After Effects. But don't go looking for concentric shape repeater. That's kind of like the result that you make. All that's really happened is offset pass, which is not new, they've added copies to. So yeah, that's the upgrade. But you can do these cool mesmerizing star things. Plus, look, you can do it with your name as well. We'll do both of these now. There are slightly different techniques, but really, offset pass has copies. Hooray! All right, let's draw our little shape. Let's close down all the layers. Type U on your keyboard. Type it again, second time to close it all down. A nice little shortcut. Now this applies to shapes. Okay, so you have to use one of these guys: polygon, ellipse, rectangle, star. We'll use star. You could draw it with a pen tool, copy and paste it from Illustrator, get an SVG from somewhere. Okay, so make sure you have no layer selected. Okay, and you can see the little star next to your icon. If you're not and you're on mask, click on this option here. I've got no fill, works better with no fill. Stroke color, stroke width, we can adjust afterwards. Draw yourself a star. Okay, I'm at the beginning of my playhead here, sorry, my timeline. Drawing out a star on a random angle. Okay, you can adjust the width afterwards, something like that. Now, where it is, okay, under your shape layer, twirl it down and have a look at contents. We're gonna add where are we? Can't see it. Brain not working. Come on, brain, offset pass. That's what we want. Okay, so this is not new. It's been here a while. What's new about it? Okay, and the fact that it's, I've kind of introduced it and Adobe's introduced it as concentric shape repeater. Don't look for that. That's just the fancy name they've given. We've added copies to offset pass. Okay, but the nice thing about it though is we can do those concentric shapes. So I'm going to start copies, amount, and offset. If you're going to animate that, we might as well. At the beginning here, got my little keyframes, go out some distance, and let's have a look. Amount will depend, you need to drag out this enough so that there's a gap between it. If you're finding it's just kind of repeating as a solid shape, it means your amount is not enough. Then grab copies and it should spiral out. So that's what I mean. If your amount's not enough, you'll end up doing this and spending ages like I did when it came out, trying to work out what's going on. You just need enough of a space between it. So either lower the stroke, remove the fill, or adjust the amount up high. Okay, and I'm gonna have enough copies that it kind of blows out the screen. Something like that. Cool. And then I'm going to, offset is, look, you'll see the offset. You can kind of get it to explode out or back in on itself. It's pretty cool. It's up to you. I'm gonna leave mine set to no offset. Okay, so it kind of starts from the original shape and goes out, and then I'm going to get it to go back in. To get it to go back in, I could reset all these, or nice little shortcut is just grab these ones that are all set to 0, copy them, wherever your playhead is, just hit paste, and I'm just doing Command V on a Mac, Control V on a PC, okay, to gather them all up, and ready, steady. Oh, look at that little pulsing star liney thing. I think I want to go back to the center ones and do a bit more of the amount. So to make sure you get it right on the keyframe, okay, not everyone makes those tiny extra keyframes. Hold shift while you're dragging the CTI or the playhead so it snaps in. So actually the amount needs to be bigger. I want more exciting explosion-y stuff. And that's it. That is the kind of concentric shape repeater, but really it's just copies that we can animate. Let's fancy it up a little bit. Select them all, right click one, just add an easy ease. Okay, things a little bit nicer. And let's maybe add We've already got the motion blur on the layer. Let's turn it on this. If you can't see these little icons, toggle switches to modes so you can see that little box. Turn that on, and let's get that to render. Motion blur. It's good, but man, stresses things out. All right, a couple other little things we'll do is, just because I'm going to stick it underneath, maybe there. I'm going to duplicate it, copy paste. So I've got 2 of these layers, started at different times, grab my move tool or my selection tool and just do another version of it. Okay, so at different times, sparkly star stuff. I'll wait for it to render. It is a riot of things going on. Yeah. This is what happens when you show all the tools in one video and don't bother making lots of separate videos for it. All right, so it's working. It works perfect for this. You can do something similar with a repeater, but what ends up happening with strokes is they end up scaling up, and that kind of works. But hey, it's newish. Came out in May. You need to know it's there. There it is. Where it actually starts being used quite a bit at the moment is kind of retro fonts, and I'll show you that now as well. Plus, it'll set me up for what I want to do for the new 3D tools in a second. So play along. But what we might do is, this is actually getting to be too much of a riot of stuff going on. So what we'll do is we'll make a new comp, just a kind of stock standard one. So I'm going to use the create new composition button. I'm going to leave everything the default. This is going to be my 3D text one. Okay, and we're going to start afresh. So to do our retro font thing, we need to pick a font. So in After Effects is one of those programs that is still lacking behind in terms of font and all the awesome things that Adobe have done with it. So grab the type tool, you've got your fonts over here, but they don't have all the kind of niceties that some of the other Adobe programs have. So as part of your license, you probably already know, but you can go to fonts.adobe.com. These are robust kind of fonts with lots of all the good stuff that you need for a kind of commercial font. Got lovely groups. You can, like, we're looking for like a retro font. There's no retro option. Okay, so I just kind of spent some time looking through comic and college and futuristic and horror, and I found one that I liked. You can change the sample text. We're going to use our first name for this like little exercise. So type in Dan, you can kind of go through and decide what you want. I ended up finding this one here called Filigiri. It's part of this series called the Tapered, whatever that one is. Okay, and once you've got it, all the fonts in here are active. You can make them active by clicking it, okay, or activate just them singularly. And this is the one that I wanted to use. Okay, and After Effects at the moment, maybe this is a bug on my like pre-release version, but you still need to restart After Effects. That's not true of all programs for Adobe, and it might not be true of After Effects, but restart it and it should appear. I'm going to click once, I'm going to type my name. Okay, I'm going to move it into the center. I'm going to turn caps lock off, and I'm going to find my Filigiri. I can't remember what it's called. There it is. Type it in. There it is there. Cool. And pick a color. I'm just going to go for like a off-white. I want to do some colors around the outside. So once you've got your font, you can't actually apply this effect straight to it. You need to convert this into a shape. So to do that, you have to have the layer selected, go to layer, and there's one in here that says convert to, I can never remember where it is. No, it's moved. It's under here. An older version, it was just sitting in the layers panel. Now it's under create, create shapes from text. And what you'll notice is that you end up with like a duplicate. Okay, so they've left the editable text here. This now, down outlines, is no longer like, I can't change it to an E or an F. Okay, so they've left that version there, but turn the I off. Okay, so with this top layer selected, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the fill. Okay, we're clicking on the word fill and say no fill, please. Okay, in terms of the stroke, I'm going to click on the colored box here, and I'm going to say, I'm going to do that kind of like anaglyphic kind of effect where it's kind of 3D, fake 3D from the 80s. Okay, so I'm going to go for a light blue. Stroke wise, I want it to be a tiny bit thicker, 3 pixels. And just like we did earlier with the star, that's kind of where we're up to now. You just need to do that process first if you want to start using type. So I'm going to twirl it down, and I'm going to say in contents, actually I'm going to add the offset paths, okay, and do the same thing. Let's grab the amount, drag it up, somewhere that you like. I don't know, that looks good. Very Tron. Maybe it's the font and the lines. And yeah, copies. I'm gonna actually start the amount at 1. Actually, I'll start it at 0 and set keyframes for amount and copies. Okay, and move along about a second and crank it up to, I don't know, something that looks nice. And the amount of copies again. Don't hit reset. Copies, yeah. I don't want it to be too crazy. It gets like pretty overlappy. That's a technical word. Okay, I want it to kind of pulse like this and get it to go back to 0 again. We'll do that. The timing, always for my timing, I never do the exact same amount out. It's always, I don't know, always find it looks nicer, kind of half the distance that you've come up, okay, to come out again. All right, there's our little pulse there. In terms of timing, let's do the easing on first. Easy ease, and let's have a little look. That's cool. Let's loop it. So what we'll do is play head just a bit further out, type N on your keyboard to kind of get the work area to trim up, and then it will loop through that work area. I'm happy with that. It looks pretty cool. Remember, if you want to change the timing, have them all selected. Hold down the Option key on a Mac, the Alt key on a PC, and you can drag any of them and it will adjust them all kind of proportionately. Nice, we might add a motion blur. I'm liking the kind of retro vibe of that one. What I'm going to do also is just turn the actual text layer on, turn the eyeball on so it kind of fills the middle. You don't need it, okay, but I do. I want it. And that kind of anaglyphic effect, what we might do is actually with it selected, let's crank this up to 6 pixels, okay, and let's duplicate the top one. So this is, I'm just going to hit return. This is going to be Dan Cyan, or close to cyan, or just or Saya, and this one's going to be kind of the red. Okay, so with this one selected, I'm going to change the stroke to not quite red, that kind of fluorescent nuclear red, I like to call it. So with that one, they're just overlapping at the moment, so I'm going to play with the timing. You can either just drag it out a tiny bit so it doesn't do it at the same time. So this one here, just change the timing, or you can play around with the amount inside of here. A little shortcut with the layer selected. You guys mostly know these shortcuts, you do, but I like to throw them in. With the layer selected, just type U, and it will actually only twirl down the things that have been animated, okay, with keyframes. So that's these. And you might decide to play with the timing of these. I don't want to. So that's the right kinds of colors, but for the top one here, okay, so I've got it selected. I want to go into here, and actually I want to play around with the layer mode. So in here, I want to change the D, the A, and the N to, I don't know, multiply or something that ends up, let's zoom in, so that you can see the overlap between that and the things beneath it. So actually, instead of doing it individually, you can switch from layers to modes and actually just do them all at the same time. And which one, this is the pain where you work your way through and to see what the kind of layer mode, okay, it's this top layer, how it affects the layer underneath, and kind of what you want to do, what kind of look you want. I have no idea. I've done it, I've practiced. I can't remember what I picked. I'm going to go for overlay. Okay, and let's have a little look. It's going to do this as it kind of moves through. There's some sort of interaction. Probably not a lot. All right, let's have a look. Cool. I like it. What I might do as well is down on top. Yeah. I'm so happy with myself. Anyway, it looks cool. I like it. So guess what? I've set some homework. Okay, I want you to practice this exact same technique. Okay, so there's going to be homework. Okay, so what you have to do, 3 things you have to do, you get bonus points for 2 more. Okay, so you need to find a new font. Okay, so from fonts.adobe.com or Font Squirrel or Duff Font 2001, 2000, was it 1001 free fonts? Wherever you get your dodgy fonts from, okay, get them, pick one that's kind of retro. I want you to find music anywhere you like. Okay, a great place to get it is youtube.com/audiolibrary/music. You will have to sign in with your Google or Gmail or YouTube login, whatever you've got. Okay, but you end up here. Okay, and it's pretty amazing the stuff they give away that you're allowed to use commercially free on YouTube. So what you might do is play through them all. You can order by genre, mood, okay? And in terms of search, you might things like, I don't know, you might do synth, is that how you spell synth? To get kind of the retro vibe, okay? And there's just lots. You can't really hear that, but there's some cool stuff in here, and I want you to time it to music, because that's going to be the real big thing, right? Is this is all good and well, but it's when it has to actually happen to the pulse of the beat. Okay, so you don't have to do a long version, just a few seconds, just to kind of prove that you can do it. And I want you to send it to me, okay, at the regular places. So upload it to YouTube or Vimeo, and then send it to me. Tag me in it and say, here you go, Dan, here's my homework. Okay, and there it is there. Use your first name, okay, as the little letters. You don't have to, okay, but send it to me at Twitter. Okay, at Dan Loves Adobe. Instagram is Bring Your Own Laptop. Facebook group is Bring Your Own Laptop Online. If you want to join that and share it in there, it's free. And yeah, I'd love to see what you make. You get bonus points for sound effects that are outside of the music, and you also get bonus points if there's like some sort of background image or background video playing. I'm not sure what you're going to do here, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you do. All right, let's get on to the next feature. Actually, to make the next feature a little bit more exciting, we just need a few extra explosions of lines. So I'm just going to quickly drag out my work area, select on my Dan Red and Cyan or Saya, type U to give me all the keyframes that have been made. And I'm just going to select these, copy it, move my timeline along, paste, random timing, paste. I'm looking for this random timing paste thing, or I'm lazy. One in there, one a bit further. I just want a bit more excitement going on. So when we move into 3D, another little shortcut that you might not know is, well, not really a shortcut. If you go to your preview panel and turn on full screen, when you hit spacebar to preview, instead of it just doing it down here, okay, like that, which is just fine, turn it on to full screen, and when you hit spacebar, it just switches to full screen, gets rid of all the junk. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that on for the rest of the tutorial. All right, so this is what we're gonna be making, this kind of 3D spinny thing. Now, 3D isn't new to After Effects, but if you've used it before, you know the controls for it are ancient. I think they said 20 years old, the kind of controls for 3D in After Effects. So the update is super nice. Check out, see the gizmo here, unified one, looks better, way easy to control. See up here, the unified camera, the tool that we like to hate, has gone and is all being replaced with more industry standard tools. Plus there's shortcuts. So if you are from something, I don't know, 3D Studio Max land or Maya or Cinema 4D or SketchUp, anything, you're going to be happy that it's a lot more kind of industry standard and just a lot nicer to work with. It's definitely going to make my tutorials for newbies so much easier. All right, let me show you what's changed. So let's turn on 3D for all of these layers. Let's make sure we can see our switches, turn 3D on for these. And what you'll notice, first of all, is it doesn't need a camera. So in the old version of After Effects, I got open here, it's the old version, is the unified camera tool. You couldn't do any kind of 3D or 2.5D motion without a camera first. So that is new, which is pretty cool. So this is the old version. So now I've got a camera. Now I can start doing my 3D with the unified camera tool, which, I don't know, it's like a frenemy. We need it, but it doesn't work very well. So the new version, first of all, don't need a camera, which is awesome. And also, can you see the unified camera tool is no longer exists? Sorry, buddy. Now it's kind of more, I don't know, standardized. We've got an orbit, we've got a pan, and we've got a dolly. Okay, and yeah, they've got cool shortcuts as well. Yay. 1, 2, 3 will get you from orbit, okay, to pan, to dolly. And we didn't need a camera. I'm not sure why that's so important to me. And the shortcuts are super important. I'm not exactly sure if they're on by default. In this pre-release version, they are. But if you go to After Effects preferences, and this is new, there's a new 3D preference. Okay, if you're on a PC, go to Edit and Preferences and turn and jump to 3D. All right, and you just got to make sure that's on. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. We'll do our gizmos. We'll do that in a sec. Plus, turn that on as well if it is not. I'll show you what those are in a sec. Okay, so yeah, that is pretty nice. And what you'll also notice different about it is that the initial kind of use of that is orbit around cursor, whereas before our unified camera thing only ever orbited around the scene. Okay, so where cursor means that I can click on my object. Can you see that little target appears? Can you see it's orbiting around the top left of the D? It doesn't work over here. It defaults to the center. So you've got to actually click on the object, or I don't know, make a pre-compose it so it's a nice big solid object. But can you see I can actually click and drag around the thing that I want rather than the default, and this is the old version. Okay, whereas it doesn't matter where you clicked. Okay, it did it around the center. Okay, so click on D. It doesn't matter. It likes the center regardless. So it's just a bit more intuitive. And if you are using 3D, you'll notice it's a bit different. Another thing is new is that you can, because we don't have a camera now, but let's say we do need to animate our camera over time. Okay, we can go to view and we can create a camera from the view that we've kind of got now. Okay, so it'll just create a camera based on there, which is really nice. Make sure you apply heads at the beginning if you want it to start at the beginning. Okay, I'm holding shift so it snaps to there. And what I want to do is I want to kind of transform this one over time. And so with the layer selected, hit P to jump straight to position. I'm going to set a keyframe on it. And then after some time, wherever I run out of sparkles coming out of my name, I'm going to use my orbit tool, 1, okay, and just click and drag it to what I want to do. I want to do this slow, moody, look at that. All right, looking good. So those are some of the 3D updates. Let's look at the gizmo. So we're using the 3D camera. So let's look at the actual 3D on the object. So I'm going to select all 3 of these guys, okay, because I want to work on them all at the same time. And what you'll notice is by default, there's a much more useful gizmo, okay, this little kind of like wireframe tripod thing in the old version of After Effects. Let's quickly turn on these guys as well. So we're all on now, and you can see the wireframe there. It was always troublesome, right? You'd switch and you'd try and click on them, you'd try and grab them, and they were okay, but I don't know. These things here, look how good it is. And to be honest, like there's this kind of thing called the unified gizmo. So I've got my layers selected, they're all 3D. Move back to our selection tool, and you'll have these appear, okay? These are the new gizmo controls. And the original one there, though, the first one is actually, I don't know, I'm just using the universal one because it's got your X and Y and Z, it's got your rotation, and it's just really nicely done. You can see there's scale in there as well. Yeah, I don't know, they've done a good job. There are shortcuts for those, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, we'll toggle through all of those. If you want to get to the first one, or I guess the universal one, you type V on the keyboard. Okay, get you back to kind of like the universal version. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to do a little bit of animation. So them all selected, R for rotation. I'm going to set a keyframe here, and then I don't know, holding shift so it snaps, and then I'll do some sort of rotation-y thing. Actually, we'll go both ways. So 1 there, and then we'll go back to 0. We should add some easing. Actually, fast forward this so it renders. All right, we are rotating and panning. It's not as spectacular as I'd hoped. It looked better when I demoed it. It looked very dramatic. Actually, get them all selected. Hold down the Option key and kind of, I don't know. Does that make them any better? Kinda does. I had MTV in my head. I don't know. There we go. So the gizmo is better. One other shortcut, which will be super handy, especially in 3D a lot, is to use mouse shortcuts rather than the kind of 1, 2, 3. I've started using my trackpad on my MacBook Pro so much now, and I don't do enough hardcore 3D stuff that I end up with a mouse. So I had to go to my drawer, pull out a mouse that had 3 clicks, Okay, so in front of me, I've got a mouse that it even has a cord attached to it, but it has a left and right and a middle button. Why that's useful is, you can't see, but I've switched to it. Okay, so it means I can hold down the Option key on a PC or Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC. And it doesn't matter what tool you're on. Let's say we're on the Type tool. Okay, I can hold down the Option key. Can you see it switches to the unified camera? Okay, so I can actually work on my camera without actually having to go find the tool, remember the shortcut. It just hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC. And holding down that same key, use your right click, okay, and drag, you get to dolly. Okay, we dolly in, out, so you don't have to remember what those shortcuts are or switch to any kind of 3D mode. And the last one is the middle button. Hold that down. You gotta hold down the Option key or Alt key first. Hold that down and you can move it around. So I'm holding down the middle button on my mouse, which is kind of like the scroll wheel on my one and the same, which does things like that, zooms in and out. But when I let go, back to the Type tool. So that's kind of clear as mud. Hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and use your left, right, or middle button to move through either the unified camera, through the orbit, the pan, or the dolly. Pretty standard for other 3D programs, and it's nice to have it in here in After Effects as well. All right, kind of addition to your homework, if you do want to, like 3D is tough. If you're new to After Effects and you're following along and you did your lines, and you're like, oh, I'll do the 3D stuff. I don't know, it is not for the casual doer. 3D can be a little bit tricky. Don't not do it, but if you've got some experience in 3D, it will make this pretty easy. If you don't have any experience in 3D, you should probably do some training. I know a guy first, but give it a go. Don't be discouraged if you find 3D hard in After Effects. It is hard-ish. But what you make, I'd love for you to send me that as well. I'd love to see it for your homework. Last new feature, or at least newish, came out a couple of months ago, is support for ProRes RAW. So yes, I shoot ProRes, but I do not shoot ProRes RAW. Way too big and heavy for what I do. So I don't know a lot about it, but check out, I guess I need to mention it. So check out, there's lots of reviews online about getting this working. You need kind of a latest computer with a really good video card, but at least it'll take it now. And probably it's more useful for people using Premiere Pro. So it's, After Effects and Premiere Pro will support ProRes RAW now, but it's probably more of a Premiere Pro thing. Just so you know. Don't think my camera can even shoot ProRes RAW. Anyway, let me jump out to the big camera and let's wrap up. All right, that is it. I hope you enjoyed the wrap up of all the new features for After Effects in 2021. I would like to know in the comments which you liked the most. So drop what you thought the best feature was that's going to influence you the most in your After Effects life. I'd like to see what it is down below. Also, there'll be links down below for the other updates, because I've got updates for Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere Pro, Adobe XD, so you can check out those as well. All right, I will see you later. Stop looking at my neck. I know. I watched it through the review, and I'm like, I can't take my eyes off it. What are you gonna do? All right, I'll see you in another video. Stop looking.